The Hangout on Air is live. So I was saying, Randy's not going to get here until 7. It looks like Edwina is trying to come, but is having some technical difficulties, maybe. Joel, I have not heard from. Do you know if Joel's planning to be here tonight, Georgette?
Yeah, I spoke to him about 2 hours ago. He said he was going down to his office so he could get online. So I hope he made it.
Well, just 6:31. So.
Okay. Okay. So we are in good shape. So did you all enjoy this chapter? Kim?
I didn't finish the chapter, so I feel like I'm just kind of tardy.
Okay.
Don't kick me out today.
I'll
be quiet.
I think we're all getting to that point. In fact, I really want us to hang out for a few minutes at the end of the meeting and I want to check in with everybody about, where we are and how we kind of want to move forward with the few remaining chapters, because I think we're all kind of beat down. I imagine Harriet Washington as a dominatrix.
Well, you just made me feel better, because I was looking at the calendar. I got to post it up, our schedule. I got to post it up on the wall. And I'm like, oh, look, we only got 4 more.
And Harriet was like, keep your head in that book. Keep your face in that book. And we were like, oh, Harriet, stop, please.
True.
Oh
my God.
But you can even see that she is getting tired,
Well, yeah. I know she's worn us out. It take every ounce of strength you have to read a page.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every ounce. Good information, though. Fabulous.
Edwina, are you there? Can you hear us? It looks like you might need to take off your mute and open your camera. And if you look up at the top middle of your screen, the second and third icons will do that. Because all we have right now is your picture. So, yeah.
Well.
But we are in the last third, so, we have done an amazing job.
With a little help of some medication.
So, no, Kim, we're not going to kick you out unless we kick all of us out.
That's what I'm saying, because I know I should be kicked out today. I really should. But Michelle is merciful. Michelle is merciful. Yes, she is.
Well, I'm crying uncle myself. I didn't get my highlights videos done, and I'm trying to do 3 of them related to this chapter. I didn't get 1 done, and that had nothing to do with Vanita. I just could not do it.
Georgette, we're just no good, Georgette. We're no good.
No, you're just human. You're human. And this is one rough piece of information.
The thing is, we had a week off.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
A week off. It does not pay to give us a week off.
No.
That makes it harder, though, I think, sometimes. Well, especially when we took that 2 months off.
Oh, no. That was crazy.
It was so hard for me to get back into my routine with this stuff, We
were comatose for the first, what?
Month. Yeah.
We're all sitting there looking at each other like, are we really here? Are we back?
And that was a fun book.
Yeah, right?
At the fun book.
Shoot. Edwina, can you hear us?
I guess not.
Yeah. Why don't we go on and
Okay.
get started? You know, Joel will probably pop in whenever he does.
Mm-hmm.
Randy at 7. And I guess Edwina's got to work out whatever's going on there. So,
Okay.
camera's on you, Benita.
Good evening and welcome to the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. My name is Anita Walker and I'm your moderator for this evening. We will summarize and discuss Chapter 12 of Medical Apartheid, the dark history of medical experimentation on Black Americans from colonial times to present, by Harriet A. Washington. First, let us start off by having each one of our reading circle members introduce themselves. Georgette, Michelle, somebody.
Hi, my name is Georgette Moses, and I'm coming to you from the hot South, Columbia, South Carolina. You shaking your head, Benita?
I'm sorry, when you said hot, I just almost fell out just thinking about it. But you're here.
Yes.
Kim?
Hi, I'm Kim. I'm in New York. Hi, everybody.
Welcome.
And we're having a nice day here, right? Right, Michelle?
We are. Yeah. And hello, everybody. My name is Michelle Odom. I am located in Brooklyn, New York. And I'm one of the co-hosts of the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. And I invite you to learn more about us on Google Plus, where we have a community page, on Facebook, where we have a group page, and on YouTube, where you can find all of the archives from our 3 books and hangouts related to those books. So welcome. Did you give the dates of the session, Benita? I don't remember.
The day, May 12th?
No, we're in session 3, which is going to run through June 16th.
No, I did not. Thank you.
Okay, and we'll probably take a break after that, hopefully not too long, and come back with session 4. So if you'd like to be a part of the hangout, there will be an opportunity to join later on this summer.
Okay. Joel,
Hello.
you graced us with your presence. Would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, I'm Joel Jones, coming from Charleston, South Carolina. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Edwina.
Hi, I'm
Nice
trying
to
to.
see you here.
I'm working on it.
Would you like to introduce yourself? We can see you to our audience.
Hi, this is Edwina. I'm here in Utah.
Hi, Edwina.
Hi, Edwina.
Hey.
Hello.
All right. So, are you all set? You working out okay, Edwina? Is everything okay?
I'm still not quite in. I don't see it left me a message. Let's see. You are already in a video call. Oh my goodness.
We see you and we hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see us?
Nope.
Oh.
Wait a minute.
Okay. Well,
Okay, you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm in.
Okay.
Fantastic. All right, so everyone's all set? Let's get started.
Yes,
Those
ma'am.
who got- Oh, is that Randy?
Randy won't be here until about 7.
Okay. All right. Joel,
Yes, ma'am.
since I've missed you so much last week, we didn't see you because you weren't here, of course. Why don't you start off by reading the summary for us?
Okay. Give me 1 second here.
Okay.
Okay. In the age of technology fix, the country is heading for a genetic and behavioral control of society. Who will exercise the control? Who will make the decisions about which genes are defective and which behavior abnormal? Who will make the decisions about genetic worth and prospective human beings? Jonathan Beckwith, 1974. The positive and a negative application of genetic science are seen through the lenses of America's criminal justice system in Chapter 12, Genetic Perdition, the Rise of the Molecular Biases. Harriet A. Washington also makes case for the double-edged nature of genetic science as far as African Americans are concerned, as it has been applied in the workplace and the pharmaceutical industry. Characteristically, the dual motives of racism and profits coverage in a way that possesses special threats for Black Americans or any vulnerable or uh, dis, uh,
Bye.
despised population. Today, our DNA, the carrier of genetic information, enables scientists through DNA fingerprinting to identify distinctive genetic similarities. Though not as reliable as fingerprints, DNA technology is used by our justice system to identify criminal offenders and potential suspects, by the pharmaceutical industry for medical innovations, and for many other current and potential reasons, including determining substantial uh, suitability for certain types of employment. While it holds many promises, from tools that could release or convict to the troubled history of genetic disease fixes that may provide cures or mere stigmatization, genetics offers a corporal of medical and pitfalls for blacks, wrote Washington. Key points and discussions for Chapter 12, Genetic Predation, the Rise of Molecular Biases.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you, Joel.
Yeah.
All right. Would someone like to volunteer to read first?
I'd like to do that.
Okay.
Criminal justice and injustice. A. Thousands of African American men and women have been and still are identified, tried, and convicted merely on another person's word. Calvin Johnson had such an experience. He was convicted for raping a white woman in 1983, whom he had never laid eyes on, and was tried and convicted by an all-white jury. With only pubic hairs recovered from the victim's body did not match his. Johnson spent 17 years of his life in a Georgia prison. Ultimately, DNA evidence proved his innocence and demonstrated the DNA material left behind by the rapist did not come from Johnson's body. In 1986, he was released from prison. He was 42 years old. 1. How was Johnson's life's trajectory changed by his false arrest and imprisonment. Stop there.
Yes. Would you like to address that, or would someone else like to address that question?
It's a good question. He missed what? He was about to be. He had a fiance. He was about to get married. I understand. Came from a good family, and through the stress of her son being in prison, his mother died. So he missed a great deal of his life. He could have been a father. He could have gotten married and had children and lived a productive life. And his whole and his journey took his young life away from his young adulthood life away from him.
Yeah.
He was punished for nothing.
Yeah. He lost a lot of his life.
Yeah, I agree completely, Edwina. Um, and there are so many ways to destroy um, a people. You all recall that reading we did about genocide, and this is one of the examples that came up for me in this chapter of just how under siege we have been, even when they don't kill us. They don't physically kill us, but they get so close. They rob so much of our vitality. Um, that it's just a shade beneath death to me.
I can only imagine how a person must feel sitting in jail or anywhere being detained against their will, knowing that they didn't commit a crime or do any harm on someone. That alone takes a strong person to be able to survive that mentally.
And he had to develop all those survival skills,
Well, we didn't talk about that. Okay, that's besides that. To keep your mind together and be able to protect yourself while you're there. I don't know, if you can't come out whole, you will never be whole again.
Hey,
no amount of money or anything else that can make you whole.
hey, Vanita.
Yes.
My mentor is standing by, and he want to yell at the group, Dr. Thaddeus Bell, and this is how the Closing the Gap in Healthcare for Disparities got started through this particular book. He just want to say hi to everybody, and everybody say hi to him. His name is Dr. Thaddeus John Bell. Hold on a second. Doc, sit right there.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
First of all, let me express my sincere appreciation for having the opportunity to speak to you guys. When Jazzy told me several months ago that you all were studying medical apartheid, I said, wow, wow.
Yeah.
So this is one of the books that it inspired me to start the program Closing the Gap in Health Disparities for African Americans and the Underserved. And as I've said on many, many occasions, after reading the book, we tried to look at all of the reasons why the health disparities occurred, and the one that I felt like I could really make an impact was the health literacy piece. And so we are a little bit ahead of the curve because um, those folk who have been studying disparities recognize that the health literacy part is very, very important. But the thing that has not happened is that many health insurance companies still do not appreciate that um, what teaching people about um, hypertension and diabetes, just common sense kinds of things, how important teaching people about that is. So as I look back on it, it was a good move. We still are trying to do a whole lot. In fact, just today I was in the studio producing health tips. A lot of the health tips that I do produce are really driven by what I see in my office. And you would not be well, now that you are students of this conversation, you would not be surprised to hear that many of the things that continue to drive the health disparities have a lot to do with the myths and untruths that continue to be very, very prevalent in our community. So with all that said, I really do applaud you all in studying this. I hope that it will make an impact on you as it has on us. And I would be remiss if I did not mention how much of an impact it made on my daughter Tanisha, who recently passed away after she read the book and really started really appreciating what health literacy brought to the table. She became very passionate about the subject. So anyway, enough said. Thank you all very, very much for allowing me the opportunity. Yes.
My name's Michelle Odom. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Reading Circle.
Okay.
And I've already finished the book, and I guess I would say that I think what it did for me and what it's doing for all of us is scaring the bejesus out of us.
Right.
But it's not really giving us practical information about, how to protect ourselves. Would you be willing possibly to come back in June and facilitate a segment on health literacy and kind of help us think that through?
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to, and maybe we can even set up some of the things that I've done online. If you go to YouTube, I have over about 100 videos of talking about things that show up in my practice that I like to talk about. They're really not rocket science things. For an example, the importance of taking your medications every day. We continue to see that as being a major reason why the disparities exist. And I'm talking about people who have funds, have insurance, are intelligent, at least about most things, but still don't understand that if you have high blood pressure, if you don't take the medicine every day, you're likely to have a stroke. Something as basic as that, because they get a lot of information from other folk that you don't have to take it, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'll be more than happy to do that. I think that'll be fun.
Thank you.
Doctor.
Okay.
May I ask you a question? How do you spell your name?
Thaddeus. Thaddeus John Bell.
Hey, one thing
Thank you very much.
Tell no, go ahead, Doc.
Go ahead.
Tell everyone what part of the country you come from.
Oh, I'm from well, I was born and bred in Columbia, South Carolina. I've been living in Charleston now for about 40 years. I went to the Medical University of South Carolina in 1972, and in fact, that's where I was really exposed to the disparities, and I really couldn't understand during the time that I was a medical student several things. Number one, why did African Americans appear to be the sickest of all of the groups of people that we took care of? Why did we appear to be the sickest? Why that our problem list, why was our problem list made up of 10 active medical problems? But the other thing that became very apparent to me and really stirred my soul was that I went into a profession that was supposed to be about taking care of people, uh, not being prejudiced, and just taking care of people. And that was the furthest thing that I found from the truth. So I really had to struggle with going into a profession that I thought was about taking care of people, and then finding out that we had this horrific history of not doing what we had pledged that we were going to do, that we were going to treat everybody the same, that we were going to do the best that we could for everybody, when that was the furthest thing from the truth. So I struggled with that for a long, long time. And so when I graduated from the medical university and finished my residency, and then got invited back to come to the medical university, I recognized that one of the things that I could do to help decrease the disparities was to increase the number of African Americans in the healthcare profession in general. I'm not talking about just medicine. I'm not talking about just being physicians. I'm talking about being nurses, being dentists, being healthcare administrators, being African American researchers. We all need to play a role. And of course, that was one of the things that caused me to create the scholarship that we now have at the medical university, by the way, which just got endowed about last year, and which Jazzy played a major role in helping us set up. So we have that scholarship. I'll tell you something. I'll tell you this, and then I'll be quiet. Just today, I got a letter from one of my very good friends, who was the dean, who made me aware that it costs students about $36,000 a year to go to medical school. Now, most medical students are just like me. They're first generation healthcare professionals. So we didn't come from deep pockets.
Yes.
You know, my father was not a healthcare professional. My mother was not a healthcare professional, even though I did have a first cousin. But most of these young people, you know, are coming, they're first generation health professionals. So they don't have this kind of money. While they have the academic talent to be able to do it, they don't have the dollars. So that's why we created the scholarship. And the other thing is, we found out that that disparity is not only just for medical students, but it's for nursing students, it's for dental students, it's for students who want to enter the healthcare profession in general. So that's why we are spending a significant amount of time trying to increase the scholarships at the medical university. By the way, that scholarship is just for African Americans. It's not for any other students. You have to be of African American descent to get that scholarship. And the reason
is it national?
No, it's just for students that want to go to the medical university.
Right.
And the reason that we did that is because when I went to medical school, there was no scholarship for African Americans. I mean, when I went to school, African Americans couldn't even get into medical school. You know, it had to be a special act of Congress in order for them to start accepting us. But that's a whole nother story altogether. Yeah. So, so anyway, that's pretty much my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. Well, let everybody say hello to you. And I'm in Brooklyn, New York, but I've lived all over the country, so really I'm just an American.
Oh, okay. Very nice to meet you.
And Benita.
My name is Benita Walker. I live in Connecticut, and I'm so happy to see you here this evening. This is a pleasant, pleasant surprise.
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
And we look forward to having you back, for sure.
Absolutely. We'll come back, and I'll get a chance to maybe play some of the audios and play some of the videos. And frankly, some of the things that I'll play and show you, you'll laugh at, because you very well may be victims of some of the same things that I try to address. And so it'll be a teaching experience for you too.
Oh, we'd love to have you. I can't wait.
Okay. All right. God bless, and you all take care.
And Georgette, don't leave yet.
Yeah.
Oh, we have another person?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm pleased to meet you, Dr. Bell, and I'm so very proud of you. I'm in Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh, Ma, you're a homegirl.
Well, I'm a transplant, but they keep trying to tell me I'm Southern already.
Okay, very good, very good, very good.
Yeah.
What part of Columbia do you live in?
I'm in the Northeast, off of Percival Road.
Well, I grew up in the project right there in Allen Benedict Court. That's where I grew up. I'm a product of the projects, and so I'm very proud of that. And I went to C.A. Johnson High School in Columbia.
Okay, I know where that is.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
Kim.
Hi, Dr. Bell. I am Kim, and I'm in Brooklyn, New York. And thank you so much. And I think you might find me on some of your tapes doing some silly stuff. So we're really looking forward to hearing and seeing more of you. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I would encourage you to go to our website and sign up for our newsletter that comes out once a week. It's a newsletter that I write, and I address some type of issue. I take a different perspective as an African-American physician who's seeing patients. And it's very short, and we write it so that people can understand it. So sign up for our newsletter. I think you will enjoy it.
Will do.
Okay.
And Edwina?
Hi, Dr. Bell. I'm a former patient of Dr. Jeffrey Henry Watson at the Watson Clinic in North Oakland, and he's promoting, you know Dr. Watson?
No, I do not. No, I do not.
Okay. Well, he's on your, you both have the same agenda, promoting healthcare professionals in the Black community.
Right. Very good. Very good.
And thank you, Edwina. And finally, Randy Henderson has joined us. Randy's the other co-host. Just introduce yourself, Randy.
Hi, my name is Randy, and I'm watching from Atlanta and currently work. So.
Okay.
Very good. Yeah, I have some ties to Atlanta because I went to Atlanta University. Well, it's called Atlanta Clark now.
Yeah,
but I got a master's from Atlanta University.
Okay.
Yeah.
HBCU.
Yeah. And of course, I have a daughter that lives in Atlanta. Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
What part?
Yeah. It's a new section of Atlanta. I've only been there about a half a dozen times. I'm sorry, I'm blocking on the name of the part, but it's over near the airport.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. I don't know the name.
Over near Campbell Road.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know it either.
Randy, Dr. Bell started a program called Closing the Gap in Healthcare to encourage and support minorities in going into the field. And Joel does some work with him, or Jazzy, as he is known in his other life.
Well, you know, one of the things, I'll say this and then I'll stop. You know, one of the things that I have particularly enjoyed is being able to motivate and stimulate people to embrace my compassion as much as I have. And I think that it's really kind of interesting because Jazzy probably knows about as much about health disparities as most people. And so it really has been very, very nice to watch him grow into the subject, you know, and so that's very rewarding to me. So anyway, but listen, God bless you guys, and y'all take care.
Thank you so much, and you have our condolences.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Have a pleasant evening.
All right, bye now.
Health is your wealth.
Okay.
All right, thanks. All right, take care. Yes, sir.
Well, that was very
Bye.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Yes, it was.
Very.
Well, that's my mentor, Dr.
Thank you,
Thaddeus in my day.
Joel.
Yeah.
Jazzy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Very.
all. That's all for the men now. That's what we do is close the gap in healthcare. So.
Yeah, thanks, Joel.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank
thank y'all for allowing him to speak. I speak of him so much, and he has been such a great influence. He's the reason why I went back and got a master's in human services, and I started volunteering for the charity, and then the jazz festival and stuff like that. So, yeah, he's a good guy. He really is.
Joel.
And the thing about him is a lot of people don't know. You just heard him talk about mentioning the passing of his daughter. She was 33 from cancer, but her other son, his son, died in the 1990s from a staph infection. He was a Morehouse grad. He was 21 years old.
Oh,
So
Lord.
he,
Already here.
yeah, so he's going through now, and with his daughter Tanisha, that was 33, and then his namesake, that's the scholarship is named after his son. So that's what keeps him moving is doing the work of closing the gap in healthcare, the charity, and providing scholarships.
Wow.
That's excellent.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. I'm sorry to got off track. But, yeah.
No, it's good, and really, I look forward to having him come back when we finish the book, and kind of help us.
Okay. Oh yeah, he'll do that. He that's what he does. He speaks. If you see, he has hundreds of videos. When I work for the charity, we're on about his health tips on about like 9 radio stations here throughout North and South Carolina, and he's on 2. Um, um, he's on 2 television stations here as well, and soon to be on JC108.com out of the Atlanta area as well. Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. Well, I guess we'll get back to Harriet A. Washington.
Our girl.
Yes. Okay, Georgette, would you like to do a B, please?
All right.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Although Calvin Johnson and many others have employed DNA science to gain their freedom through appeals, many may not have had that opportunity for a variety of reasons. The majority of falsely accused and convicted inmates cannot afford the required $5,000 needed for DNA testing. Some cities have passed laws forbidding the use of DNA evidence in appeals. Additionally, criminals do not always leave DNA evidence behind, and even when DNA samples are available, they are sometimes allowed to deteriorate, are lost, or subject to human error and manipulation. All of these factors and more threaten a falsely accused or convicted person's freedom. If we reviewed all prison sentences with the same level of care that we devote to death sentences, there would have been more than 28,500 non-death row exonerations in the past 15 years, rather than the 255 that have in fact occurred, said University of Michigan law professor Samuel R. Gross. Peter Neufeld, a founder of the Innocence Project, concluded, "The real significance is not that DNA got them out, but that DNA provides a window into the criminal justice system to see what went wrong with the system to let so many innocent people be convicted." And then question number 2, did you realize how careless the criminal justice system is in its attitude toward guilt and innocence? Number 3, what do you think about cities that pass laws restricting use of DNA evidence? And number 4, the Innocence Project is one community-based response to injustice in the justice system. What other ideas do you have for responding to this kind of injustice?
Okay. Thank you, Georgette.
You're welcome.
Well, On the last question, certainly the work that Dr. Bell just described is one example of a different kind of response from the community to the problems that we're seeing. The Innocence Project responded from a legal perspective because that's the expertise of the founders. They're lawyers. Dr. Bell responded from a medical perspective because that's his expertise. So, really, I would say that's what all of us can do is, from our own particular vantage or position, think about how you could address this, because it astounds me that there are that many innocent people sitting in prison, and they're passing laws that won't even let you bring forward the evidence that would exonerate you. Really?
Crazy.
I mean, that's incredible.
Well, I'm not astounded by that. I believe that when I read it, because you have to realize that it depends on where folks are. For black folks, it's no wonder at all to any of us if you are convicted for something or nothing. Prison is now for profit.
You're kind of breaking up.
So
I think Benita froze on us. But Benita's not astounded, but I'm astounded. It's one thing to wrongfully convict people when you don't have the evidence. But when the evidence exists, and you know it exists, and you won't even allow people to present their case,
that's called politics. That's called politics.
That's total disrespect. It's too much.
But it's called politics. It's called politics. It's called, I am a prosecutor. I need to win this case. I have higher ambitions. I know that evidence is there. I'm going to act like it's not. I mean, a lot of it has to do with so many other things besides what's right for the prisoner, or the person, I should say, that's been accused of a crime. So there's a whole lot of stuff that goes with that. And I've read a lot of things at times where, evidence has been manipulated by the prosecution team. Later on, all these things come out. So, I mean, if you're a poor person,
but think about what she's saying here. Cities, the city council, the mayor, your elected representative, are passing laws. I know I hate to be so naive, but I just am. I can't stand it.
The same way they pass laws to prevent us from doing things many, many years ago. Nothing has changed. It's just
and there's a whole prison industrial complex.
Michelle, I know it's a lot on you, but yes.
It has to be fed. I know.
Okay.
Well,
does anyone have any other thoughts, or would someone like to address question number 2 and number 3?
Yeah, I would see number 2. I looked at Do you realize because yeah, I remember you remember a few years ago the Dallas prosecutor ran on and he won and on freeing and exonerating people through DNA because he made a compelling argument that just because you have someone in prison for a crime, you're not safer if you put the wrong person in prison.
That's right.
Because that raper, that person that raped or shot somebody or whatever crime it was, that person still out there. So and then all of a sudden it seemed like the people in Dallas, they just like woke up and said, you know what? I think he's got a damn point. We're not safe because they put this black face behind there. But it's like I read I think Georgette sent me a video on this gentleman that had a very a point when it came to the justice system, and we were talking about different people that are opportunists and what they're saying, that there are few bad apples in this bag, that, you know, when it comes to police and the justice system, when in fact it's not the few bad apples, it's not the apples, it's the bag that they're in. It's the entire system in which we sit in the justice. Say for instance, like we were talking about, you know, someone made the point about the prosecutors. Well, these prosecutors are running for, you know, they're running and they're going on convictions. So why do they have to run? Why can't now? There's a lot of bad things that go in a lot of states, and South Carolina is one of them. But the way that we appoint judges down here is a lot different than everywhere else. That makes them that put one of their, when they come and rate the judges in the state of South Carolina as being some of the better judges because they're appointed by the General Assembly. They don't. The judges in this state do not run for elections. So you got somebody that's a judge that runs for an election that can take donations and all this other kind of stuff. What kind of corrupt system can that be? So I think we have to look at the entire system in which we're in and look at those particular numbers and the laws that are being made and stuff.
Okay. Thank you, Joel.
No.
Well, does anyone else have any thoughts on that, or shall we move on now?
I just oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Randy.
Okay. I just wanted to say something really quickly. I'm not, what I think about cities that pass laws restricting use of DNA evidence. I'm not surprised because we've been having a lot of people in general, especially black men, older black men, be exonerated from their crimes they were convicted of like a long, long time ago, come out now, and they're asking for money, as they should be. You know, they're not asking for no little bills. They're asking for like millions of dollars, as they should be. And so I think that by restricting use of DNA evidence, which could ultimately exonerate these inmates, you also restrict, you know, you limit the amount of lawsuits you end up having, which these cities will have if they did allow DNA to be used in a lot of these crimes. So I'm not surprised that they found some loophole to kind of block that from ever happening. Because a lot of times DNA is the only thing that can exonerate inmate. So.
Yeah, but I'd rather see them put a cap on how much, you know, how much you could sue for.
I'd rather them not, because I feel that is the biggest deterrence for a city not to do the wrong thing. If you say a city gets sued for $10 million because they willfully, and a lot of these policemen are going around, they are purposely making someone guilty, dropping you know, tainted evidence and stuff like this here. That's the biggest deterrence for someone not to do the biggest thing that could help is them to be able to sue all they want to. You know, that's using the same thing that, you know, for malpractice. We cap malpractice. Well, you know what? If you wouldn't go around leaving utensils in people, they wouldn't die. You know what I mean?
But the difference, you know, to me, the difference is that, let's say Randy's right, and that the money, you know, is the driving force.
Yeah.
Then then what they're saying is rather than grant you your freedom, we're going to keep you in prison because we're afraid of what we're going to have to pay you. And that's why I'm saying I'd rather see a cap on it, but let me have my freedom.
I think that's one way of looking at it. I mean,
putting a cap on it would insinuate that the inmate, like the people who are appealing are right. Like, it kind of, it's like when celebrities do something stupid, they do, they pay settlements. So they're not necessarily guilty, but they settled in court. So why would you settle if you weren't guilty? So I think that still makes them look guilty.
So if you, Michelle, if you look at it from your standpoint, and we already know that it is a industrial complex, so I lock this guy up wrongfully, and and the prison system is charging the state, and they say, well, you know what, we have to pay $500,000, and we lock this person up, and the prison system made $10 million off this one person. They'll do just like the banks, the cost of doing business. You know what I mean? They'll do it. That's like, well, we got a cap on it, so we'll write that $500,000 off. You know what I mean?
But I mean, they're going to write it off anyway, and they're spending money anyway to the for-profit prison corporations. And so, my only concern is, how do you get your freedom if you're innocent? You don't.
Well, I think the only way you can really get your freedom is laws like that never be passed. You understand what I'm saying? I think that's the real solution to the problem. If a person should not exhaust his evidence. You know what I mean? So he exhausted all his evidence. How in the hell do you do that? Because we passed the law? Well, it's not a good law. The thing is, get rid of the law. Don't put a cap on. Just get rid of the law.
You got to get rid of the people that enact the laws.
Yeah.
Because it's so corrupt in Washington. Yeah. I'd have to go there and use my Swifter and swift everybody out of there and start from Plan A. That's how bad it is. So most of it is political. No matter what you do or what you say, it's political. And as long as you have those $5,000 thug wearing suit thugs up there on Capitol Hill.
Ooh, did you say thugs?
Thugs. On Capitol Hill. $5,000 suits, $1,000 gators. Enacting laws that oppress folks, kill folks, cause folks not to have medical care, food, health, a roof over their head. Nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. So in order for that to happen, the whole system has to come down. Now, who's going to start bringing the system down?
I like to be a little bit more optimistic than that.
No, but it's so optimistic when you look around you. You see how corrupt our system is. Everybody's in everybody's.
That's true.
We got the Supreme Court justices up here. One of them is off to see the wizard for real. I mean,
no, but I have to agree with Joel on this point. That the issue is to not pass the laws or to have the laws overturned. And so if we pose the problem as it's so big, it's so huge, and nothing is going to happen until the entire system comes down, then we freeze ourselves at inaction. If we take a bite size of it and say, well, what do we have to do in this city, in this one city, to overturn this law or to prevent this law from being passed, then it starts to feel like, well, maybe there's something that we can do. And that's what I mean about optimism, that, how you spin it rules how you move forward.
Right. And you're correct, Michelle, 100%.
As usual.
I didn't want to say it. Okay, here we go. You know what I'm saying, Kim? Stroke, she struck her own ego. I gotta love her. I have no choice. Yes, I love her. All right now. Does anyone else have anything else to add? Edwina, Georgette, you're back there. Are you kind of quiet?
I just wanted to add something.
Okay.
I think when we go back to chapter 10 and we were talking about caged subjects, so now you have somebody who has been exonerated because of DNA, but they could have had 10 years of medical testing. So I'm just wondering that when Joel talks about the whole bag is rotten, it's the bag is not necessarily the apples. It just really seems like an addition for prisons for profit. It's also this prisons where they have to have so many bodies to test all of these different products. So those two things just kind of spinning around in my head. I don't have an answer or anything. I'm just saying that those two things together means that if I'm now out of prison, I got other people to sue too.
Yes. Yes. Well, now. Okay. Are we all set?
Yes.
All right. Randy?
Yes.
I missed you last week.
I know. You know, I was all pumped to be in book club last week, and then I got Michelle's notification on Facebook. And then it was ended, and I knew one was coming up. I thought it was happening after this.
All right. Well, since you're here, would you like to read the next question?
Yes. This is Age of Gattaca. Okay. Various governmental agencies, including the FBI, Secret Service, IRS, Social Security Administration, Census Bureau, and the Department of Veterans Affairs, collect and store extensive collections on genetic data on American citizens. Since 1998, offenders have been required to relinquish DNA samples to federal databases. To date, every state maintains its own DNA database that contains DNA profiles of felons and others, including those suspected of crimes and even innocent people rounded up in DNA sweeps, targeting a specific demographic group to voluntarily consent to DNA testing. These states' databases contain hundreds of thousands of DNA samples, and on the federal level, millions. In fact, in 2002, the U.S. Attorney General ordered the FBI to expand CODIS, Combined DNA Index System, to 50 million profiles. Some scientists warn that the very DNA evidence and technology that has freed hundreds of African American men like Johnson may soon be wielded by police to criminalize and convict Black and Hispanic men. Question 5. Have you or do you know anyone who has ever been caught up in a DNA sweep? If so, how did it make you or they feel? Question 6. Do you believe it is right or necessary for the government to maintain all this DNA data? Question 7. What possible reasons could the government have for storing all this DNA, and how could this information harm ordinary citizens? How could it be used to criminalize and convict Black and Hispanic men? You want me to read D2?
No, we'll stop right there.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll go on to actually, why not?
Okay. In the United States, laws prevent the federal government from retaining DNA samples from the innocent, but the states are still doing this. DNA is not only used to verify one's identity, it also contains intimate information about one's health, including one's future risk of developing certain diseases. DNA also holds data about the health and identity of one's forebears and descendants. Question 8. Although DNA can predict certain diseases and disorder probabilities for you and for your children that might be beneficial for preventative medical purposes and cures, do you believe the use of stored DNA information will eventually be used in a sinister way? What are your thoughts?
Okay. So, would you like to address one of those questions, Randy?
I don't know if this counts as a DNA sweep, but when I was in elementary school, it was like a really big deal for I don't know if y'all like remember this or had this with your kids, but it was like if your kid is kidnapped or something, you can have their DNA, their fingerprint on file, and they came to our school. It was a really big deal, and everybody really wanted to get their fingerprint done because you like the black ink and whatever.
Yes.
But now that I'm older, and after reading this chapter, I realized that was really crazy. And they didn't go to like every elementary school. You know, I remember it only being like, you know, it was special because it was our elementary school or it was our grade. It wasn't every grade didn't get it done. It was only a certain. They only went up to a certain grade level. Who got to do the DNA thumbprint and take a picture and everything. I don't even have that card anymore, or you know where it is. But
Uncle Sam does.
Yeah, I don't know if that counts, but it's definitely something that I was caught up in. Do I believe it is right or necessary for the government to maintain all this DNA data? I've been watching a lot of Scandal. You know, I've been hooked on that show since it came out. So everything is B613 to me. So,
All right.
I don't believe it's right or necessary, but you know, I don't know if we'll ever truly know what they're doing. Honestly, I don't know why you would possibly want all this DNA stored. Why they would open, you know, make CODIS take all this extra million people's DNAs. I don't think it's anything helpful. You know, I can't. You know, people don't just round things up like that unless it's malicious. And from this book, we've seen that this government and this country has a history of being malicious. So I think it's definitely for sinister reasons.
Yeah. I don't know.
If you know anything about the movie is a futuristic movie about the government having your genetic code to determine your personality, traits, and even your how your behavior and how you're going to your fate. The movie is called.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, to determine a person's fate. And I think this is going to happen in the future. You know, we already have the FBI collecting the genetic data from CODIS. You see this on what's that movie, that series that comes on, Criminal Minds, and you see the girl behind the computer, and if they need information on a certain person, she can pull your all your information up plus your picture. So this is what the movie is about. It's not just your fingerprint. Now, you know, when you turn over your fingerprint to the DMV to get a driver's license and they take your picture, but CODIS is just it's a preliminary type of thing that's going to happen in the future. Whereas I'm thinking my grandchildren, maybe not in my generation, but a few generations from now, there is going to be that type of system where they take, as soon as a child is born, they'll take their genetic code and they'll put it in this machine, and that's what that movie is about. And they can determine that person's personality and their perhaps the type of job that they're suitable for in the future. And it's going to have that person's picture, and it's going to be a form of identification.
Yeah, I had to get a new ID since I've been in New York, and it's got some little clear. I guess it's a RFID chip, right? Chip-looking thing on it, and you know, I used to say I will not be chipped, but I think I've been chipped. And it's like, oh my God. But, you know, Criminal Minds is one of my favorite shows, Edwina. Yeah. And, you know, and I think what that does is normalizes the idea that the government should have access to all this information. And I posted recently an article by Chris Hedges. But one of the things he was talking about was, you know, as we watch our democracy and our privacy and, you know, our liberties and all of that, but you don't even hear anybody talk about the Bill of Rights anymore, do you?
There are none anymore.
I think they eliminated those. But as we see, as we watch all of that go down the drain, you know what is also happening is is we're being taught to fear everything. We're being taught to fear each other. We're being taught that, you know, you might be the CIA sitting here with me, and so, you know, so everybody's scared and nobody wants to talk to anybody. Nobody wants to do anything because of this atmosphere of fear that is being cultivated.
But I think the point of the movie Gattaca is to demonstrate this is what's going to happen in the future. Generations from now, 20, 30, 20, 40. I mean,
and are there any black people in Gattaca?
Yes, it's going to be global. This is the point of the whole movie. This is a global initiative.
Okay, well.
So they know who we all are on this earth.
Yeah, I've seen Gattaca a long time ago, and I enjoyed it. I enjoy that kind of thing because really, I think they are showing us what the future, you know, will look like. If you think back on some of the old Star Trek episodes and things like that.
I mean, you never conceived of having a flip phone like this where you could just, you know, beam me up spark.
Yeah.
No?
So it's very frightening.
Well, I just saw a unicorn go by. So I thought that you all know that unicorn fly.
Oh, okay.
That's that AD. Anyway, anyone want to address any other questions in section C and D, or shall we move on?
I think I have a question.
Yes.
So when you have this DNA database, it actually has a living sample of the person's blood, or does it have, like, I guess, the code of your DNA? I mean,
the code of your DNA.
Both.
The federal government or
the federal government is not allowed to store the actual genetic material,
right?
But the states are doing it.
They're swabbing your cheeks.
Yeah,
right.
So that swab then is turned into some sort of coded representation of the material.
Yes.
But using your saliva.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess my concern is that, like, and I watch Law and Order. Sometimes they have somebody and they hand them that can of Coke, and they're thirsty and they drink it, and all of a sudden they have their DNA.
Yeah.
So my fear is the back end, that if you want to criminalize somebody, you can actually plant their DNA.
Oh, of course.
Right.
So it seems like would that then become something that will become more prevalent?
Well,
no.
Not looking too good right now, so the probability, statistically, that can happen, it's pretty good.
I
so
know.
Watch your Coke can, Kim.
For those of us that was in the military, we've long given up our DNA, so we don't even.
Right.
It's one of those things we don't even think about. You know, they've been having it for 30-something years, so you know, we go in, they got everything.
Right.
They have your blood. They have a sample of it.
Yeah, everything. My whole life is on an ID card. They can swipe my ID card and they can see everything about me from anybody that served in the military.
Yeah, my son, he showed me his Army ID card, and another son in the U.S. Marines, and he went.
Chip. They've been had that, you know.
Yeah,
we don't even worry about it no more.
Right.
Wow.
He quanticode the profiling, so they got his genetic code.
Mm-hmm.
His DNA.
What can you do?
We can't do a thing.
However, me too.
However, it's 7:40, and we have a couple more things that we'd like to cover before in clock. So, let's see. The sickle cell mishap. Can someone volunteer to read that, please? How about Michelle?
Okay.
All right.
Sickle cell misstep. By the 1960s, the federal government supported initiatives that encouraged widespread genetic screening for sickle cell disease, supposedly to protect vulnerable people by avoiding their placement in work environments that could trigger illnesses such as sickle cell crises. African Americans themselves pushed for many of these initiatives to test and counsel people at risk for sickle cell disease. Although the projects were sometimes well-intended, sickle cell screening created huge problems. Renelia Randall, professor of law at Dayton University, recalled, airlines, for example, said pilots with the trait couldn't fly. Subsequently, the U.S. Air Force Academy rushed to judgment, barring the admission of black sickle cell carriers, otherwise healthy people. By banning black carriers from admission, the Academy was effecting a large-scale restoration of its long-standing race-based ban on blacks entering the Academy. But now it could offer the rationale of protecting them. Once again, scientists and pharmaceutical companies rode to the rescue. There was profit to be made off the backs of the profitable black wonders again. Ortho Pharmaceutical Company of McNeil Laboratories vigorously marketed and sold the so-called sickle cell screening test, Sickle-Dex, knowing full well that the test did not differentiate between the sickle cell trait and the sickle cell disease. Question 9. Do you think, at this point in our reading of medical apartheid, that white people would even allow black people to live if they couldn't find ways to profit from our vulnerabilities? Question 10. Are we only alive because of the grace of the white man? If not, then what must be done to prevent the persistent hoodwinking in which they engage and by which we are ensnared? Now, you know those are my questions.
You come up with some praise.
All right, let me go ahead and read F so we can move through this. Publications and policies of the National Institutes of Health solidified sickle cell anemia in the American psyche as a black disease. As government policies still confuse the disease with being a carrier, screenings were done en masse at a variety of sites in an assembly line fashion with agenda-driven, inaccurate counseling. When screening revealed that a person carried the trait for sickle cell disease, they were informed they were sick and in some cases given a brochure without further support or answers. Advised not to marry a person who also carried the trait and sent on their way. Often the main informational point of the screening was to identify affected people so that they would know not to have children. This advice led many African Americans to accuse genetic counselors and counseling programs of genocide. What do you believe?
Okay. Michelle, do you have any thoughts? Or how many do you have?
Well, again, you know, I find it astounding that on the basis of such poor science, you would be telling people they have 20 years to live.
Yeah.
You know, I can't, you know, imagine being Randy's age and getting that kind of misinformation you know, and then told not to have children. Um, you know, I think it's incredible. So while I don't know if I believe it really was intentionally a genocidal agenda, I think that it had that kind of potential and um, um, impact, given the vastness of the testing and screening that went on for this disease. I'm sure we can't count how many babies were not born based on these practices. So I don't know. I mean, I just, I want Dr. Bell to come back and help us with this. I was so glad he showed up tonight, Joel, because I certainly don't have all the answers. But I do think that one of the answers is about building our own capacity to ask questions. And, that's really why I am moving through these books the way I am, and having all of you develop questions, because that's a major way in which we are able to protect ourselves. And again, people in that era, you remember the 70s, Vanita and Joelle, people were having a good time.
Yeah.
You
excited. Oh.
And not necessarily questioning all of the information that was coming at us. I mean, just picture the Black Power conference, the Black Panthers, dispensing this advice. Surely they weren't doing it from a genocidal perspective, but they weren't asking enough critical questions and demanding evidence before they proceeded. So that's my comment.
Does anyone else have any thoughts on those questions?
I just remember. I'm sorry. I just remember as a kid, there was a hysteria about sickle cell and who could marry, who could not marry. And it was just like it was the same thing when people started getting AIDS, and all of a sudden AIDS came from Africa and it had to do with us.
Yes.
So it's that same hysteria, and then when Ebola, it's just, it's in Africa, it has to do with us. So it's just amazing how we just keep, what do they say about history repeating itself?
Yes.
Well, it's
but
just.
Excuse me, Joel. Have we heard a single word from Georgette tonight? Are you alive over there, Georgette?
I asked that. All the laughs. What's going on, Georgette?
Vanita's got us going on a good pace. I don't want to interrupt her with a long dialogue, but I was gonna come out on this one, but Kim got in there first.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, blame me.
No, I was just going to say that when I read this passage, it reminded me of when I first joined the Air Force. And you have the physical, and you're in that mindset, just as you said about you just do what you're told and you're accepting information because you're in that mode.
Right.
And when the lady, she took my blood, and then whatever it came back, she said, "Oh, you have the sickle cell trait," and she gave me that look. And I said, "Well, what does this mean?" And she said, "Oh, you just can't marry another person who has the sickle cell trait." And that was like no information for me. And since you're already in a fast-paced environment, you're just moving along, you can't talk too much, don't ask too many questions. I took that information and went on with it, with my life and my career, and never revisited, what that might mean down the road medically for myself or any children I might have, until I really started looking, at this information. And then I want to go back to what Randy said about the genetic material taken during the so-called Protect Your Child from Kidnapping episode. When I lived on Air Force Base, the police came through the schools, the grade schools, and they said, oh, we're having this new program where, we want to take your child's hair and their fingerprints and their picture, and this will help you in case they're kidnapped. Now, mind you, we did not have a rash of kidnapping back in
Air Force Base.
Right.
Yes, on an Air Force Base.
One of the most protected societies you ever have.
So I'm thinking now that, okay, they took advantage of the parent caring for the child, and I want to do everything I can to protect them from possibly being snatched. Like there's a big market for little black children, but maybe somewhere it is, But, and I'm thinking that, okay, this was maybe a disguise on the surface, innocent way of, getting some genetic material or seeing if these parents do it, we can move it out to a bigger population and see if they do it too. So it just, makes me kind of wonder. And my third question, and I'm going to end it, is what in the heck is the IRS doing with my genetic material, and how did they get it? What's it for? Okay? What's the heck to do with my taxes?
Well, first of all, we need to figure out why did our government give as much power as they have given to the IRS, period, when it's not even a government entity.
True.
Okay? It's a Gestapo.
Yeah, they got guns and ammo, don't they?
You understand? They're not even a part of our governmental administration. But yet, for some ungodly reason, they have the power, like, I don't know. You can come in here and take folks' DNA. You can come in here and say, I owe you money, and snap some handcuffs on me. You can foreclose on my house, take my dog.
B613.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. So this is what I mean by you just don't even know which way you're going anymore, because there are people that have powers and entities that, where did they get this power from? Who appointed them? I didn't vote for it. Did you vote for it?
Nope.
No, but you're in their database. Your DNA is in that database for some reason.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it's for some monetary benefits to me. I'm just kidding.
No,
you can scratch that.
I figure I've been looking at my unicorns. Anyways, does anyone else have any comments?
I want to hear somebody. I want to hear somebody respond to 9 or 10.
Oh, well, we're gonna wrap it up with Harriet A. Washington at 8. We will get to it as much as we want.
I think we have to go a little bit over tonight. We did have Dr. Bell for quite a while.
Now, see, did I ask her anything, Randy? Did I ask her? Here we go. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Look, we'll do it your way, Michelle, but I do have to excuse myself, too, for about 5 minutes. You take over for me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Randy?
You want me to answer which one? Or
Anyone. You kind of
9 or 10.
Where are we?
Questions 9 or 10.
I think both these questions are really funny, but are we only alive because of the grace of the white man?
Well, now.
I don't. That is so funny. I would hope not, because then that would be really depressing. I think that white people have really tried to kill us off. I really do believe that through this, after reading in this book, and so I do believe that they're trying to really kill us. I really do, but I don't think we're only alive because of their grace, because I don't really see a lot of grace in this book. But I digress. What must be done to prevent the persistent hoodwinking? The only thing I can think of really is what we're doing, which is reading and education, but it's so difficult to get people to read, especially black people who like to sit at the white table. It's really difficult to get them to read books like this. A lot of people don't know how to read for comprehension. We don't have the best literacy in our communities, which makes it very difficult to not only read this information, but to take it in. and to really understand what she's saying, which is, you know, that this country has a history of legally killing us outside of slavery. And I think a lot of people like to stop at slavery and Jim Crow, but don't really like to look at the medicinal part of it, which I never knew to really look at either until we started reading this book. And so I think it's going to take, and we talk about this all the time, like the community, like we're sick, you know, we have issues because of all the stuff we've been through. We've never gotten therapy. Black people have that. Don't ask, don't tell, don't talk about it if it happened in your house. What stays in the house happens in, happens in the house stays in the house. So I think that we've been conditioned within our communities and throughout the government to be quiet, and being quiet and being educated contradicts the other, I think. And if we stopped insisting that, we stop being silent about what we're going through and what we see, I think that we're going to be continue to be hoodwinked. And I don't even think at this point it's really hoodwinking. I think that at this point we're all pretty like conscious of what the government is doing, and white supremacy, what white supremacy does or has been doing just forever. But how do we stop it? I don't really know how. Like, once you know, what do you do with that information? Like, do I make President Obama read this book, or has he read this? But like, what can he really do, knowing that this is probably still happening, especially in these prisons, and with these in these juvenile courts, like the woman in the beginning of the book, or the beginning of the chapter, with her sons. So I don't know, y'all.
Thank you. You know how at the end of the last 2 or 3 chapters, there's always a point that says, and Bill Clinton apologized on behalf of the American people. But when you look at all of these atrocities that were happening in the 1990s while he was in office,
I think, you know what, back to that I'm sorry stuff. I'm getting so tired of the majority, saying, well, I'm sorry. Well, they killed him. The officer said he was sorry. What else do you want him to do? I think that this sorry thing is, they use it for a cure-all. Okay, you're sorry, but who's going to be held accountable? What you're going to do about it? You know what I mean? And how are you going to correct it? Saying sorry, what are you going to do about it? If you say you're wrong, well, why don't you change your initiative, Bill Clinton, from whatever organization he have, to say, I'm going to dismantle, I'm going to put all my energy to dismantle this wrong thing that I did,
right,
my presidency, from having this profitable system. Well, won't you change the organization to do that if you're sorry? I think I'm getting tired of people to say, I'm sorry. Oh, well, I'm sorry. What the fuck? I mean, what the hell?
I've been tired of it. But I did want to say to Randy's point about reading, I can say it because she's not here, but I had to help Vanita get the agenda done at the last minute.
I heard that. Was she not?
Oh no, but because she has just been so tired of reading this book,
and she
like
did.
We all are, that when it came down to the wire, she just couldn't finish the agenda. But one of the things that, and she and I talk a lot about, well, who really is the audience that Harriet Washington was targeting? Because it does not seem that it was the average, everyday Black American, people who actually need this information to start adjusting the way we think and move through the world. So, who was her audience? But what I always say to Vanita is, yeah, but the thing is, she was talking to whoever it is she was talking to. But then other people have to come along with their particular skills and abilities and translate what she is saying for a different audience. And so you're right, Randy, you know, we're not known for being big readers, and it's not just Black Americans. You know, America itself is determined
They don't
to
read.
dumb itself down to the lowest possible level because, of course, that's an opportunity for the powers that be. You know, so but those of us who have that ability, you know, just like Dr. Bell said, he took the information that he had, and from his vantage point, he put a program into place. And so, you know, I can tell you there must be many people that have picked up this book, flipped it open,
Yeah,
and put it right back down.
better believe that.
You know, if they read the back cover,
That's right.
they thought they were doing something. So, you know,
It was my son who recommended this book to me years ago. The one that's in the Army now, and I didn't think much of it. He said, "Well, Mom, you got to read this book. This, you know," and he's a college educated person, so I guess she is really speaking to those on a scholastic level. Put it that
right.
way. It hasn't been broken down yet for the general public, but I wish it could be.
And what I'm saying is, we are some of the people who are now empowered to break it down because we've done the work.
That's right.
Can I answer question number 9? I think it was.
Sure, Kim.
And I don't think we're hoodwinked. I think we're bamboozled.
Oh, she did
Yeah,
not.
I went to public school and I had my little hand on saying the Pledge of Allegiance and all of that. And I think that's just being bamboozled to believe in, you know, the Constitution and all of this American stuff. But what comes to mind in terms of profit is the Henrietta Lacks story about the stem cells, them stealing her stem cells.
Yeah.
And making so much profit and curing so many people without this woman or her family's permission. And so it just feels like maybe we go back to looking at the DNA to find strains that might help somebody else. You know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden you find that if you happen to be the lucky ones that have something in your DNA that helps cure diseases, you might find yourself being a breeder again.
It's true.
It's just like, well, we're going to have to find some way to incarcerate these women because we need to get them to breed. So I know that sounds far-fetched, but it just seems like
Not to
what
me.
else they're looking for.
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, one of the things that Harriet Washington points out, I don't know if you got to the part on the Human Genome Project, that's coming up in a later discussion, but, you know, they tried to exclude African people from they did exclude African people from the first phase of the project.
Yes.
And until a Black doctor stood up and said, well, wait, you know, human beings originated in Africa. Those are the oldest and most diverse genes on the planet. If you're going to map the gene pool, you're going to need to have some Black folks in there.
That's what I'm saying.
You know? So it's highly possible and probable that there are things in our genetic makeup that can benefit other people.
Sure. Wow.
So are you back to moderating, Vanita?
Yes, I am, Michelle. Thank you so much. What's your smile on that over there, Randy?
Nothing.
Okay. Yes, I am back. Where were we now? We're on testing.
Could we skip that section and just do the last section?
Perfect. You can read that, Michelle, the last section.
Okay. Is there anyone who hasn't read tonight?
Y'all are funny.
Edwina, have you read tonight?
No, I haven't.
Don't try to get quiet over there now, okay? It's your
Edwina,
turn.
would you read section H, please?
Thank
The
you.
human genome, was it?
Genome.
Project phase. Black people were not included in the initial phases of the Human Genome Project, a massive worldwide effect begun in 1990 to map the entire human genome. Dr. Georgia Dunson lamented that severing the African branch of the family tree is a critical error because African gene pools are the oldest and consequently the most diverse on the planet due to human lives having evolved in Africa. It goes on
Homogeneity.
homogeneity, the HGP is ironic because the stirring message of the Human Genome Project data is a ringing denunciation of race, wrote Washington. Question 13, what could scientists in 1990 been thinking that would allow them to exclude black people from such an endeavor as the Human Genome Project? What is meant by the now common phrase, race is social construct? 15, do you understand why people mix gene colors frequently choose not to identify as black? How do you feel about their decision in making this choice? I think it's it's all based on the social level, the social class. You know, some people in Hollywood feel that way. So not just social class, economics, and we still can't forget the bad connotations that would use against black people, calling little black kids pickaninnies or whatever, tar babies. It's just a bag of the stigma. You know, you get stigmatized, and bad connotations along with saying that you're black. So a lot of black people would rather say they're black and Cherokee. And, they have some other, gene pool mixture. I have, long wavy hair. I have green eyes. Oh, for instance, my children's father, he's Creole. Okay, green eyes. My kids don't have green eyes. His whole family is from, Louisiana. They all have light eyes. And they really pointed that out to me, made it, it was, that this was something special. We're not, we're mixed, we're, part French, so there's still a lot of connotations with being associated with being with having African heritage.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, does anyone else have any thoughts on those questions? You smiling.
I just think that if you included Africa, you may have to have a whole other talk about you thinking that you're white, because nobody is. It would just be, all of a sudden you would say, okay, you white this century, but that's your people weren't So I think there's this whole other construct. So when you talk about the construct of race, it just amazes me that you know that we are all have some genes that are mixed together. You know, especially So my favorite thing is that how it is that some of the slave masters would have children with their slaves and then sell those children into slavery. And you know those are your little white babies, or biracial children. So I just find this whole construct to be insane.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I think within the black elitist boule cult, I call them, because I hate to say it.
What do you call them? Okay.
The boule. I went to Spelman. Okay, and there's this elitist group, and they feel that they're better than, say, the ordinary Black American, Afro American, okay, because their parents or something might be a part of a sorority or a fraternity, or have some high position in government. But to go back to skin color, while I was at Spelman, that that had a lot to do. Also, how you were going to pledge. Were you going to go with the deltas or the zetas, zeta phi, beta, or it affected you which group you were going to pledge with. That was a thought you had to think about, and to me, it was totally ridiculous. And I thought it was a big put down, but it's still a problem, I think, within our own group.
Yeah.
The light skin factor versus the dark skin factor. I'm light, and I'm, maybe, and I got a higher credit rating, so I guess that makes me special. And this person here, is living on government assistance or whatever, but and this person is just not a part of society, so sort of an outcast. I think that's what I'm trying to say. You're an outcast. I came from one of those type of boule families where they were mixed like that. My mother is very fair skinned, and she can almost pass. All right, but my sisters, and then the darker skinned ones the light skinned ones would discriminate. But I had family from the South that came from Hamlin, North Carolina, and they didn't play. They didn't play that. They didn't play that game.
Oh, hold up. You say from Hamlet. You from Hamlet?
My father, my father.
What's your father's name?
He's
Who are your people?
The Brown.
I'm from Hamlet. That's why I asked.
Yeah, my father is Edward Brown. He was from Hamlet, North Carolina. Helen Brown, Catherine. I'm one of them. I'm a Brown.
Oh, Brown. Carolyn Brown.
They live, I can't explain where they live. All I remember, there was some trailer houses, shotgun houses, and so forth, near some cotton fields and tobacco fields, and that's where I used to spend my summers in Hamlet, North Carolina. Yes, sir.
Okay. Wow.
All right now.
Yeah, I just left Hamlet. Yeah.
So let me just say, really, it is fashionable these days to say that race is a social construct, and what's meant by that is when they finally mapped the genes, it was clear that there's not enough difference in people of different skin colors to justify calling us a different race. The difference doesn't meet that threshold. However, Harriet Washington points out, and she says it early in the book, um, that she has stayed with the language of black and white because that is how we have come to understand it in this country. We kind of know what we mean when we say that. And the problems that she is describing in this book are based on the social construct of race that has been advanced in this country, at least. So, so that's one point. Another point is that for me personally, I think however someone wants to define themselves is their business. Um, and I don't want anyone to be defined as black if it's not something that they can feel good about, because we have enough problems.
There you go.
And Melissa Harris Perry, for example, who is half and half, I think, had a cow. I mean, I don't watch much TV, but sometimes I turn it on and I see these amazing things. And she actually had a cow. I don't remember the exact situation, but I think somebody called her black. And she just went off. I'm so tired of people talking about black.
Wow.
Race is a social construct.
Yes.
Okay, Melissa, we won't make that mistake
All right.
again. But I have a grandson who has a one white parent and one black parent. Guess which one I donated? And he's gonna have to decide where he wants to stand on the issue. But I really think it's up to you. But really, what I think is along the lines of what Edwina was saying about this need for superiority is in the final analysis. I believe what we're going to find is it doesn't matter what color you identify with, because still we are living in a world where people have this need to feel superior to each other, to somebody, to anybody. And so, as I have said to you all before, if they wiped off every black, if all the black people on the earth were wiped off of it, white people would still have to figure out how to get along with each other, because somebody would have to be the nigger.
There you go.
Well, if I may, I find it interesting, because you're talking about racial, construct. I was reading something in history, one of my history classes, that racism really didn't come into play until after the fall of the Roman Empire, because Romans, they basically, when they had the empire for a couple of thousand, they basically looked at people about their trade, where they come from, what type of work that they do, and they looked at people like that because, slavery was totally different. They believe in blending people in, and only until dramatic tribes and from from Europe came in until they got this light skin, dark skin crap. Okay, now, you know, as far as your racial sovereignty is only what other people allow it to be. You know, that's the only way that's going to happen. Whatever someone else say it is what it's going to be. You know, so you might as well just deal with, you know, like you're talking about your grandchild or whatever. It's what other people around him is going to allow him to be from the outward side. You know, is who he going to be. They don't know. They don't have that choice. You don't make that choice. The society you live in makes that for you.
Right, and Barack Obama found that out, didn't he?
Okay, well, I don't think he ever really. He probably already knew that. I mean, he seemed like he knew exactly where. If you ever want to know how much power a president has, look at Barack Obama. That lets you know how much constitutional power he has.
Mm-hmm.
That's the baseline from here on out. And we know that a president. I asked my son that question. How much power do you think the president really has? Not that much. He'll tell you not that much. We see Barack Obama. We see how much power he's allowed to have, and that's by Constitution. You know, that's how much power he has, and which it might be a good thing, but how much power does he really? How much influence does his presidency actually have? Well, what they're really scared of is how many white kids that are 8 or 9 years old ever seen a white man as president. That's very powerful. And then if you look at if Hillary gets in, you might have a kid that might be 12 or 13 that's white that never seen a white man be president. So what does that do for those people who are against women or who are against other people? And you got this kid that's up there that says, well, yeah, you saying that we're superior and everything, but hell, we ain't never been president. I'm 16 years old. You know? So, you know, that's my 2 cents.
I don't think they're going to have to worry about that.
One
but symbolically, it's very
important.
I understand the constructs, and it's funny because at one point white people was a very select group, and now, you know, Italians have become white people, and Jewish people are now white people, and before you know it, Hispanics will be white people, and we will be the only. There's some blacks, but the one thing that I wanted to say in terms of what Edwina was saying was the internalized racism and the post-traumatic slave syndrome. Those are just so huge, and I'm just so glad you brought both of them up, that there's this whole internalized structure that we're trying to do to each other, the same things that are done to us. So I just wanted to thank you, Edwina, for bringing that up.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Okay. Well, it is 8:23, so let's bring this portion to a close. But stay with me for a couple of more minutes because I do want to see how you're feeling about the remaining chapter. We're into the third phase of this book, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 chapters left.
Okay.
And you know, and I have kind of had to step in for the last 2 chapters. So I don't care what you and Edwina are feeling, Benita, but I feel I have earned the right to say I don't need none of y'all dumping your stuff on me at the last minute in the remaining week. So if you don't feel like you can handle it, then let's figure out right now what we're going to do.
Oh, Lord.
Do we want to dispense with the notes? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we have already gone above and beyond the call of duty, have done an amazing job. And, you know, and like I said before you got here, I think, Randy, I picture Harriet Washington as a dominatrix.
Wow.
I just want to say in short, you know, when I think about the book, I say it's so intense. It's got a lot of medical terminology.
But that's not my question, Edwina. That's not my question. I know how difficult it is. I know how difficult it is. More than no, I'm not trying to hear it. I understand that. Everybody here understands that. What I'm saying is, what do we want to do about it? Because we all know it's difficult material. It's not fun. We all have other things going on in our lives. And I am not the dominatrix. I don't like forcing anybody to do anything that they don't want to do. And I will not allow anyone to force me to do anything that I don't want to do. I only try to do things that I can be passionate about because I want to do them. So, I don't want anybody to feel pressured. So just tell me. Just, I know everybody says, oh, Michelle's so scary. But really, I just want to hear the truth.
I want to finish it. It's like a meal. I done got into it. I want to finish it.
Well, you can eat that meal by yourself. Okay, and Michelle has made it perfectly clear today that Anita said she was out 2 hours before we started. So, eat that meal, Edwina. God bless you.
So what are you asking, Michelle? Like what are you asking?
I'm asking, we can brainstorm. I don't want to suggest anything. I want people to say what they think we can handle. Remember, I suggested in our first meeting of this session that we just go with a group of standard questions. There were about 3 or 4 questions.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, that's right.
And we have all gotten off on the train of doing these big dramatic, agendas and notes and 55 questions and all of that. But really, it's not necessary.
Okay.
And so, I don't want us to feel so pressured to do, y'all, I know y'all know it, but I was an A student. If you want to compete with me, and I got all the arrogance that goes along with it. Yes, I do. So I'm telling you, if you try to keep up with me, you got some work to do. So what I want to know is, what do you think you can handle?
You see why I'm her only friend?
Yeah,
I was an A student. You can't keep up with me. So if you some brains want to...
And also, Benita, and also when I used to supervise people, I used to tell them, I am a star. And if you want to work with me, you're going to need to be a star. And they couldn't fail.
Oh my God.
So,
Okay.
but I'm tired. I'm telling you.
Right.
I'm
We
tired.
understand.
I'm
glad you're tired.
Well, if I may, I sent Dr. Bell our notes to all our agendas, and he was very impressed with the scholarly way that we approach the book. He said he's not seen anybody break down this book, and he said he's saving them, because he can use it as reference. So I think we got a high bar and everything. I think it's very good. Myself, I enjoyed the book myself. Personally, everything that you read is not going to be good for you.
Joel, is, are you going to do your chapter, or are you going to put it on Georgette's shoulders?
That's why
I'm going to do my own chapter.
Okay, I'll be.
You gonna do your own chapter?
We got witnesses. We got witnesses.
Answer, Joel.
I think Randy's chapter is about 10 pages long, so
that's why I chose. That's exactly why.
Yeah, but y'all, I I think people go ahead and just give me the longest chapter in the book anyway. We just give that to Joe.
We got Kim coming up next week. Kim, can you handle it?
Do you feel like
What was that other option we were talking about?
The other option is you don't even have to write any notes. We can go back to the standard questions that you will find on the first agenda. It's about 3 or 4 questions, and everybody can just read the chapter, and we'll come and address those 3 or 4 questions.
Yes.
You know, and let it be.
I like reading some because it just kind of gets you back into the book, especially if a couple of days have gone by. So I like the idea that I can play around with it, so that I can do the couple of questions, or I can add a little more to it. But I think that I like the idea of being flexible.
That's stressful.
Okay.
It's very stressful.
All right. And Georgette, how are you with your chapter?
Yeah, I can do
it. She's going to call me at the last.
And I'm going to
shoot.
And I'm going to keep it to 1 session. It's going to be 6 pages.
So Michelle.
Yeah, you know, she be like trying to write another book.
I don't know what happened to me.
Georgette, if I was hiring somebody, I'd be hiring Georgette.
Wow.
She does. She's
right.
true.
Wow. I just got some kudos from the A student.
I understand. I'm not mad at anybody. I'm really not. I really do understand.
You could fool me.
I just want us to be honest about what we can and cannot do. Because I'm being honest that, you know, I've done about all I can do.
So, Michelle, you're saying that as an A student, non-dominatrix, how you say that?
Dominatrix.
You're not going to help me? You're not going to help me, Michelle?
I'm not going to help you.
Michelle, I need help.
I am done. And I don't even know if I'm going to do any more videos, the highlight videos for the rest of the book. I probably will. But I'm not forcing myself to do it. I'm only going to do it if I'm in the mood to do it.
You know, we started a race, and we really need to finish this race. We got over some hurdles.
Edwina, I'm not trying to hear from you. We've been in this race a lot longer than your opinion does not count.
You just stand by yourself, girl. I told you I'm out. What I say? I'm out.
Benita is out. All right.
We want it easy. We want the last chapters easy, relaxed, no stress. It's getting hot outside, Edwina. I'm having attacks. We want to relax.
Yeah, and you know, and all that shouldn't be happening. You know, really, reading should be fun. It should not be making us.
You're falling apart here. Y'all are simply falling the damn apart. What the hell's going on here? Is medical apartheid got a casualty? Another casualty? What the hell? I mean, like, I'm tired of this. I'm sick of this. I'm not reading not one more damn sentence. What the hell?
People getting depressed.
PTSD from medical apartheid. Jesus.
No, Joe, the problem isn't funny. And when I got to get depressed, in order to read depressed, I put it off for 2 weeks. We had a week or so off. You know what I'm saying? But you have to be, if you're dealing with other situations, you got to be really down to pick up the book, to read all downness.
I look at medical apartheid. I look at medical apartheid like any other history book that I read. I mean, that's all I do. I mean, it doesn't. I don't.
Do the last 4 chapters. You do the last 4 chapters, Joel. Joel's going to do the last 4 chapters.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
And that's not necessary. No, what I am saying is everybody should do what they can do. I'm like Joelle. I read it, you know. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably more sensitive than Joelle. It does affect me. I do feel it. You know, it is some ugly stuff. But one, I've been reading our history for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, this has
The
got some
more
other
you
bad
read
stuff.
it, the more these stories start to sound the same, and you do become less sensitized to it. And and so I don't know. I, I don't let it
I
make
got
me sick.
suggestion. I
But I
got
think we
suggestion.
have to recognize, Joel, that different people react to the same stimuli in different ways. And so I just want to respect all of our differences. I don't want you to be me or to try to be me, but I want you to be able to be honest about who you are and what you can handle.
Well, and you know what? I probably got an advantage on y'all anyway.
You
Hell,
probably do.
for the simple reason that I don't have premenstrual cycles. Don't read this crap when you go through premenstrual.
No.
Hormones are all jacked up.
Randy's about to cut you.
I'm going home.
No, but
You
really,
gotta get too emotional or something.
I will say that Joel and Georgette, they're former soldiers.
Yes.
And so they've seen some stuff. They've seen some stuff. So, we're all in a different place in terms of what we can handle. I don't know if I could have handled this book when I was Randy's age, but she's hanging with it. But I don't want to kill her.
You ain't gonna kill Randy. She's tough. I got a feeling she'll cut you.
She might kill you. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Hey,
Good night, everybody. Have a good week.
not everybody I said hello in Hamlet.
Oh.
Okay.
It's Ed Bone's daughter.